Marina Abramović is a Montenegrin American artist based in New York, a performance artist who began her career in the early 1970s. Her work explores the relationship between performer and audience, the limits of the body, and the possibilities of the mind. Active for over 3 decades, she has recently begun to describe herself as the grandmother of performance art. Early life and education. She was born on November 30, 1946 in Belgrade, Serbia. Her great-uncle was Patriarch Vanavo of the Serbian Orthodox Church. Both of her parents were partisans during the Second World War. Her father Vojo was a commander who was acclaimed as a national hero after the war. Her mother Danica was a major in the army and, in the 1960s, director of the Museum of the Revolution and Art in Belgrade. Abramović's father left the family in 1964. In an interview published in 1998, Abramović described how her mother took complete military-style control of me and my brother. I was not allowed to leave the house after 10 o'clock at night till I was 29 years old. The performances in Yugoslavia I did before 10 o'clock in the evening because I had to be home then. It's completely insane, but all of my cutting myself, whipping myself, burning myself, almost losing my life in the Firestar, everything was done before 10 in the evening. Abramović was a student at the Academy of Fine Arts in Belgrade from 1965 €70. She completed her postgraduate studies at the Academy of Fine Arts in Zagreb, Senior Croatia in 1972. From 1973 to 1975, she taught at the Academy of Fine Arts at Novi Sad, while implementing her first solo performances. From 1971 to 1976, she was married to Nea Parapovia. In 1976, Abramović left Yugoslavia and moved to Amsterdam. Career, Rhythm 10, 1973. In her first performance in Edinburgh 1973, Abramović explored elements of ritual and gesture. Making use of 20 knives and 2 tape recorders, the artist played the Russian game, in which rhythmic knife jabs are aimed between the splayed fingers of one's hand. Each time she cut herself, she would pick up a new knife from the row of 20 she had set up, and record the operation. After cutting herself 20 times, she replayed the tape, listened to the sounds, and tried to repeat the same movements, attempting to replicate the mistakes, merging past and present. She set out to explore the physical and mental limitations of the body, the pain and the sounds of the stabbing, the double sounds from the history and the replication. With this piece, Abramović began to consider the state of consciousness of the performer. Once you enter into the performance state, you can push your body to do things you absolutely could never normally do. Rhythm 5, 1974. In this performance, Abramović sought to re-evoke the energy of extreme bodily pain, using a large petroleum-drenched star, which the artist lit on fire at the start of the performance. Standing outside the star, Abramović cut her nails, toenails, and hair. When finished with each, she threw the clippings into the flames, creating a burst of light each time. Burning the communist 5-pointed star represented a physical and mental purification, while also addressing the political traditions of her past. In the final act of purification, Abramović leapt across the flames, propelling herself into the center of the large star. Due to the light and smoke given off by the fire, the observing audience did not realize that, once inside the star, the artist had lost consciousness from lack of oxygen. Some members of the audience realized what had occurred only when the flames came very near to her body and she remained inert. A doctor and several members of the audience intervened and extricated her from the star. Abramović later commented upon this experience, I was very angry because I understood there is a physical limit. When you lose consciousness you can't unregistered trademark T be present. You can't unregistered trademark T perform Rhythm 2, 1974, as an experiment testing whether a state of unconsciousness could be incorporated into a performance. Abramović devised a performance in 2 parts. In the first part, she took a pill prescribed for catatonia, a condition in which a persona unregistered trademark S muscles are immobilized and remain in a single position for hours at a time. Being completely healthy, Abramović's body reacted violently to the drug, and she experienced seizures and uncontrollable movements for the first half of the performance. Although she lacked any control over her body movements, her mind was lucid and she observed what was occurring. 10 minutes after the effects of that drug had worn off, Abramović ingested another pill, this time one prescribed for aggressive and depressed people, which resulted in general immobility. Bodily she was present, yet mentally she was completely removed. This project was an early component of her explorations of the connections between body and mind, which later took her to Tibet and the Australian desert. Following Rhythm 2, she set to develop the rest of the series of rhythm projects, continually testing her endurance. Rhythm 0, 1974, to test the limits of the relationship between performer and audience, Abramović developed one of her most challenging performances. She assigned a passive role to herself, with the public being the force which would act on her. Abramović placed on a table 72 objects that people were allowed to use in any way that they chose. Some of these were objects that could give pleasure, while others could be wielded to inflict pain, or to harm her. Among them were a rose, a feather, honey, a whip, olive oil, scissors, a scalpel, a gun and a single bullet. For 6 hours the artist allowed the audience members to manipulate her body and actions. Initially, members of the audience reacted with caution and modesty, but as time passed people began to act more aggressively. As Abramović described it later, what I learned was that if you leave it up to the audience, they can kill you. I felt really violated. They cut up my clothes, stuck rose thorns in my stomach, one person aimed the gun at my head, and another took it away. It created an aggressive atmosphere. After exactly 6 hours, as planned, I stood up and started walking toward the audience. Everyone ran away, to escape an actual confrontation. Works with Ulay. In 1976, after moving to Amsterdam, Abramović met the West German performance artist Ulay, who went by the single name Ulay. When Abramović and Ulay began their collaboration, the main concepts they explored were the ego and artistic identity. This was the beginning of a decade of influential collaborative work. Each performer was interested in the traditions of their cultural heritages and the individual unregistered trademark's desire for ritual. Consequently, they decided to form a collective being called where the fair and spoke of themselves as parts of a eight-headed body. They dressed and behaved like twins and created a relationship of complete trust. As they defined this phantom identity, their individual identities became less accessible. In an analysis of phantom artistic identities, Charles Green has noted that this allowed a deeper understanding of the artist as performer, for it revealed a way of having the artistic self made available for self-scrutiny. While some critics have explored the idea of a hermaphroditic state of being as a feminist statement, Abramović herself denies considering this as a conscious concept. Her body studies, she insists, have always been concerned primarily with the body as the unit of an individual, a tendency she traces to her parents' military pasts. Rather than concern themselves with gender ideologies, Abramović/Ulay explored extreme states of consciousness and their relationship to architectural space. They devised a series of works in which their bodies created additional spaces for audience interaction. In relation in space they ran around the room two bodies like two planets, mixing male and female energy into a third component called a thought-self. Relation in movement had the paired drive their car inside of a museum for 365 laps. A black liquid oozed from the car, forming a kind of sculpture, each lap representing a year. In discussing this phase of her performance history, Abramović has said, the main problem in this relationship was what to do with the two artists' unregistered trademark egos. I had to find out how to put my ego down, as did he, to create something like a hermaphroditic state of being that we called the death self. To create breathing and breathing out, the two artists devised a piece in which they connected their mouths and took in each of their unregistered trademark's exhaled breaths until they had used up all of the available oxygen. 17 minutes after the beginning of the performance they both fell to the floor unconscious, their lungs having filled with carbon dioxide. This personal piece explored the idea of an individual's ability to absorb the life of another person, exchanging and destroying it. In Imponderabilia, two performers, both completely nude, stand in a doorway. The public must squeeze between them in order to pass, and in doing so choose which one of them to face. In 1988, after several years of tense relations, Abramović and Ulay decided to make a spiritual journey which would end their relationship. Each of them walked the Great Wall of China, starting from the two opposite ends and meeting in the middle. As Abramović described it, that walk became a complete personal drama. Ulay started from the Gobi Desert and I from the Yellow Sea. After each of us walked 2,500 km, we met in the middle and said goodbye. Abramović conceived this walk in a dream, and it provided what she thought was an appropriate, romantic ending to a relationship full of mysticism, energy, and attraction. She later described the process, we needed a certain form of ending, after this huge distance walking towards each other. It is very human. It is in a way more dramatic, more like a film ending because in the end you are really alone, whatever you do. Abramović reported that during her walk she was reinterpreting her connection to the physical world and to nature. She felt that the metals in the ground influenced her mood and state of being. She also pondered the Chinese myths in which the Great Wall has been described as a dragon of energy. At her 2010 MoMA retrospective, Marina performed The Artist is Present, in which she shared a period of silence with each stranger who sat in front of her. Although they met and talked the morning of the opening, it seems that Marina experienced a strong emotional reaction while seeing Ulay's arrival, reaching to him across the table between them. 7 Easy Pieces, November 2005. Beginning on November 9, 2005, Abramović presented 7 easy pieces at the Guggenheim Museum in New York City. On 7 consecutive nights for 7 hours she recreated the works of 5 artists first performed in the 60s and 70s, in addition to re-performing her own Lips of Thomas, and introducing a new performance on the last night. The performances were arduous, requiring both the physical and the mental concentration of the artist. Included in Abramović's performances were recreations of Gina Payne's self-portraits, which required lying on a bed frame suspended over a grid of lit candles, and of Vito Acanci's 1972 performance in which the artist masturbated under the floorboards of a gallery as visitors walked overhead. It is argued that Abramović re-performed these works as a series of homages to the past, though many of the performances were altered from their originals. Here is a full list of the works performed: Bruce Norman's Body Pressure, Vito Acanci's Seedbed, Bully Export's Action Pants, Genital Panic, Gina Payne's The Conditioning, Joseph Beuys's How to Explain Pictures to a Dead Hair, Abramović's own Lips of Thomas, Abramović's own Entering the Other Side, The Artist is Present, March 2010 May 2010. From March 14 to May 31, 2010, the Museum of Modern Art held a major retrospective and performance recreation of Abramović's work, the biggest exhibition of performance art in MoMA's history. During the run of the exhibition, Abramović performed The Artist is Present, a 736-hour and 30-minute static, silent piece, in which she sat immobile in the museum's atrium while spectators were invited to take turns sitting opposite her. A support group for the sitters, Sitting with Marina, was established on Facebook, as was the blog Marina Abramović Made Me Cry. The Italian photographer Marco Anelli took portraits of every person who sat opposite Abramović, which were published on FLICKR, compiled in a book and featured in an exhibition at the Danziger Gallery in New York. She said the show changed her life completely, and claimed that the fact that Lady Gaga came to see it helped boost her popularity among a younger generation, the public who normally don't unregistered trademark T go to the museum, who don't unregistered trademark T give a crap about performance art or don't unregistered trademark T even know what it is, started coming because of Lady Gaga. Ulay made a surprise appearance at the opening night of the show. In September 2011, a video game version of Abramović's performance was released by Pippin Bar, 2009 Present, In 2009, Abramović was featured in Chiara Clement's documentary Our City Dreams and a book of the same name. The 5 featured artists also including Swoon, Ada Amma, Keith Smith, and Nancy Spuro each possess a passion for making work that is inseparable from their devotion to New York, according to the publisher. Abramović is also the subject of an independent feature documentary movie entitled Marina Abramović, The Artist is Present, which is based on her life and performance at her retrospective The Artist is Present at the Museum of Modern Art in 2010. The film was broadcast in the United States on HBO. In January 2011, Abramović was on the cover of Serbian Elle, photographed by Duane Relgin. Kim Stanley Robinson's science fiction novel 2312 mentions a style of performance art pieces known as abrǎːmoʋitsz. Abramović maintains a friendship with actor James Franco, who interviewed her for The Wall Street Journal in 2009. Franco visited Abramović during The Artist is Present in 2010. The two also attended the 2012 Metropolitan Costume Institute Gala together. In July 2013, Abramović has been working with pop singer Lady Gaga on the singer's third album/project Artpop. Gaga's work with Abramović, as well as artists Jeff Koons and Robert Wilson, was displayed at an event titled Art Rave on November 10. Furthermore, both have collaborated on projects supporting the Marina Abramović Institute, including Gaga's participation in an Abramović Method video and a non-stop reading of Stanisław Lem's sci-fi novel, Solaris. A world premiere installation by Abramović was featured at Toronto unregistered trademark S Trinity Bellwoods Park as part of the Luminatro Festival in June 2013. Abramović is also co-creator, along with Robert Wilson, of the theatrical production The Life and Death of Marina Abramović, which had its North American premiere at the festival, and at the Park Avenue Armory in December. Abramović is creating the Marina Abramović Institute in a 33,000-square-foot space in Hudson, New York. Visitors to the institute will undergo mind and body cleansing exercises devised by Abramović. Abramović is a patron of the London-based Live Art Development Agency. In June 2014 she began a new piece in London called 512 Hours. Prizes and awards: Golden Lion, XLVII Venice Biennale, 1997, Niederse Currency Kunstpreis, 2003, New York Dance and Performance Awards, 2003, International Association of Art Critics, Best Show in a Commercial Gallery Award, 2003, Austrian Decoration for Science and Art, Honorary Doctorate of Arts, University of Plymouth UK, September 25, 2009, Cultural Leadership Award, American Federation of Arts, October 26, 2011, Honorary Doctorate of Arts, Instituto Superior de Arte, Cuba, May 14, 2012, 13 July Lifetime Achievement Awards, Podgorica, Montenegro, October 1, 2012, Berliner Bear. Art World, she spoke up to the press in support of Jeffrey Deitch during his controversial tenure at MOCA Los Angeles, saying, Jeffrey covers the grey area that nobody else covers, the kind of art on the edge of everything. Hey unregistered trademark S like a thermometer of the new spirit of our time. About the politics. I don't unregistered trademark T know much about. I just want to say that the person Jeffrey Deitch is extremely important to the art world. Bibliography, books by Abramović and collaborators, artist body, performances 1969 1998, artist, Abramović. Authors Abramović, Tony Stoos, Thomas McAvilly, Bojana Pajic, Hans Ulrich Obrist, Chrissy Eels, Jan Avikos, Thomas Wolfen, Vladimir Abramović. English ed. ISBN 978-88-8158-175-7. The Bridge/El Artist Abramović, Authors Abramović, Pablo J. Rico, Thomas Wolfen. ISBN 978-84-482-1857-7. Performing Body, Artist Abramović, Authors Abramović, Dobra Denegri. ISBN 978-88-8158-160-3. Balkan Baroque, Public Body, Installations and Objects 1965 Euro 2001, Artist Abramović, Authors Celant, Germano, Abramović ISBN 978-888-158-295-2. Marina Abramović, 15 Artists, Fondazione Ratti. Co-authors Abramović, Anna Denari, Giacinto di Pietrantonio, La Cubed Rowan di Hagai, Societas Raffaello Sanzio, Angela Vetz ISBN 978-888-158-365-2. Student Body, Artist Abramović, Bari. Authors Abramović, Miguel Fernandez Cid, Studenti. ISBN 978-888-158-449-9. The House with the Ocean View, Artist Abramović. Authors Abramović, Sean Kelly, Thomas McAvilly, Cindy Carr, Chrissy Eels, Rosalie Goldberg, Peggy Phelan ISBN 978-888-158-436-9. The 2002 piece of the same name, in which Abramović lived on 3 open platforms in a gallery with only water for 12 days, was reenacted in Sex and the City in the HBO series' 6th season. Marina Abramović, The Biography of Biographies, Artist Abramović. Co-authors Abramović, Michael Laub, Monique Vaut, Fabrizio Gaifazzi ISBN 978-888-158-495-6. Balkan Epic. Balkan Erotic Epic, as producer and director, Districted, 7 Easy Pieces, Artist, Abramović. Authors Nancy Spector, Erica Fisher-Licht, Sandra Amatham, Abramović. ISBN 978-888-158-626-4. Marina Abramović, Artist Abramović. Authors Christine Stiles, Klaus Beisenbach, Chrissy Eels, Abramović. ISBN 978-07-1484-802-0. Critical and Academic Studies, Peter Lodermyer, Carlin de Jong, and Sarah Gold, Personal Structures, Time-Space Existence No. 1, ppA 172 Euro 177, published by Dumont, Germany 2009, ISBN 978-3-8321-9279-2. Laurie Anderson, A Euro OE Marina Abramović, A Euro Bomb Summer 2003, 25 A Euro 31. Patrick Anderson, How to Stage Self-Consumption, So Much Wasted, Hunger, Performance, and the Morbidity of Resistance. Durham, Duke University Press, 2010 ppA 85 A Euro 109. Klaus Beisenbach, Marina Abramović, The Artist is Present, Exhibition Catalogue with essays by Klaus Beisenbach, Arthur C. Danto, Chrissy Eels, Nancy Spector, and Giovanna Stocchia, Museum of Modern Art, New York, 2010, Aileen Brandauer. Marina Abramović, Double Blind. Sculpture, July-August 1995, ppA 23 A Euro 27. Adenari, A. al. Marina Abramović, Jovan Despotovic, Marina Abramović, A Euro Unregistered Trademark Fin de Circle A Euro Unregistered Trademark A Euro Balkans Way, Boba, Belgrade, September 6 A Euro 7, 1997, PA 17, Jennifer Fisher, A Euro OE Interperformance, The Lived Tableaus of Suzanne Lacey, Janine Anthony, and Marina Abramović, A Euro Art Journal 56, 28 A Euro 33. Charles Green, A Euro OE Doppelgangers and the Third Force, The Artistic Collaborations of Gilbert and George and Marina Abramović / Ulay, A Euro Art Journal 59.236 A Euro 45. Shogo Hagiwara, A Euro OE Art Hertz, Blood and Pain Abramović A Euro Unregistered Trademark S Media, A Euro The Daily Yomiuri April 1, 2004 p18. Amelia Jones, The Artist is Present Artistic Reenactments and the Impossibility of Presence, TDR, The Drama Review 55 116 A Euro 45. Janet Kaplan, A Euro OE Deeper and Deeper, Interview with Marina Abramović, A Euro Art Journal 5826 A Euro 19. Zoe Cosmido, a OEA Conversation with Marina Abramović, a Sculpture November 2001, 27 a 31. Tom Lubbock, a OE Visual Arts, Caught in the Act. EAT a Unregistered Trademark S Video But Not As We Know It, a The Independent September 2, 2003. Christina Manzella and Alex Watkins, Performance Anxiety, Performance Art in 21st Century Catalogues and Archives, Art Documentation Spring 2011, 28 to 32. Thomas McAvilly, a OE Performing the Present Tense, a Art in America April 2003, 114 a 117. 153. Thomas McAvilly, Art, Love, Friendship, Marina Abramović and Ulay, Together and Apart, Book, Document Text, 2010. Asami Nagai, a OE Art in Harmony with Nature, a The Daily Yomiuri July 24, 2003, PA 13. Anna Novikov, a OE Point of Access, Marina Abramović a Unregistered Trademark S 1975 Performance Role Exchange, a Woman a Unregistered Trademark S Art Journal Fall 2003/Winter 2004, 31 a 35. Jennifer Phipps, a OE Marina Abramović Ulay Marina Abramović, a Art and Text 3. Teresa Smailk, a OE Not What It Seems, The Politics of Reperforming Vito Akinse's Seedbed, a PMC, Postmodern Culture 17 2006, Chris Thompson and Katarina Westlyon, Pure Raw, Performance, Pedagogy, and Presentation, PAJ 8229 a 50. Mechthild Widrich, a OE Process and Authority. Marina Abramović a Unregistered Trademark S Freeing the Horizon and Documentarity, a Grey Room 47, May 2012, 80 a 97. A OE Writing Art, a Art Monthly 1999 230 13 a 17. See also, Avant-Garde, Experimental Theatre, Fluxus, Richard Foreman, Happening, Dick Higgins, Intermedia, Alan Capro, Elizabeth Lecomte, Ontological Hysteric Theatre, Richard Schechner, Speculations, An Essay on the Theatre, The Flea Theatre, The Worcester Group, Mac Wellman, References. External links, Marina Abramović, the artist is present at MoMA.